Alrighty, welcome back everyone. We just did a little bit of recruiting update, tons of stuff going on. Decorian Moore going to Oregon was the biggest of the bunch, but a ton of other stuff that we had to break down. So definitely is a huge time recruiting, and we'll continue to break down everything as you guys need to know it. But let's get into kind of a new segment around here called Monday Catch Up. Excuse me. We've had tons of big time headlines around college football that have been a little bit, I don't want to say cryptic. You see headlines come across your screen and you know that there's a very interesting story there. You know there's something that you want to unpack, but maybe there's not enough details. Maybe there's not enough, just not enough there to feel confident about doing a full 12-minute segment about it. I think there's a number of things on this list that we will revisit as, the season as we come up to the season and maybe into the season, but there's a couple of things that we need to break down, and frankly, they're not great headlines. I'll just be totally honest with you. We'll start with Ollie Gordon. He was arrested on DUI charges this past week. Had a number of different things that went on throughout this time. The story is apparently he was arrested Sunday morning on suspicion of a DUI. He was going 85 and a 65, or 82 and a 65, excuse me, and he had a half full bottle of vodka, a half full bottle of tequila in his car. His blood alcohol content was above legal limit at 0.11. This is obviously a very talented kid. No two ways about that. This is a kid that is coming off a Doak Walker Award season, a very, very elite running back, and someone that has his eyes set on something bigger, the Heisman this upcoming year, and this might just ruin those chances. There is a real chance that the availability for Gordon in the first few weeks of the game is non-existent. There is a chance that he gets suspended for those games. I'm not sure exactly how they're going to handle it. I'm sure a lot of this will be in-house, but I know Mike Gundy, and he does not play. I'll just be totally honest. So I would not be surprised by any means if he was suspended for a couple of games and was left out of those few games. Now, it doesn't necessarily change too much about Oklahoma State's season in particular because those first two games are some layups. But the reality is, obviously, will change the way this man's career goes over the next year and possibly going further. Obviously, overall, the biggest thing here is just very happy no one was hurt, very happy that Ollie Gordon wasn't hurt and no one else was, and he can move forward from this and hopefully learn from this. That's obviously the overall goal when any of this type of stuff starts to happen, is just make sure that everyone is healthy and safe and he moves forward and makes better decisions going forward. So obviously a huge player in college football. This will be a story that we'll start to unpack a little bit more in some way or another as the season rolls on, but definitely changes up the complexion of this season for Ollie Gordon and for Oklahoma State overall. So definitely will be a very interesting thing to watch, and again, overall, just very happy everyone's safe and healthy. That's the most important thing in any of these cases. But I want to touch on Blake Anderson as well. He has been dismissed. He's on administrative leave from Utah, is likely to be fired, as they said. But it sounds like there was some things that there was an external review of allegations that it compiled against the Title IX policies regarding sexual misconduct cases. Essentially, it means someone in that building did not handle a certain case, a certain allegation the correct way. That's the cut and dry of it. Nate Dreeling will be the head coach going forward, at least into this season. He's the defensive coordinator around there, a very highly respected guy around there, so should be fully confident in his abilities. But obviously this is going to be a huge story for a number of reasons, not just because of the effect on the college football team, but because of the effect on some other people in this case. And obviously I don't want to speak too much on this because we don't know all the facts, and obviously the sensitive nature of this, do not want to speak out of turn by any means. But it does seem like there will be more information coming out over the next little bit. They do need to get 14 days into his administrative leave to start releasing some of that information and being a little bit more forthright about what exactly happened here. And that's definitely something that we will likely unpack as it kind of comes out and see if there's, big time story here. But overall, this is going to be a very interesting thing. Anderson and his attorney, Tom Mars, has said they intend to sue the university if he's fired with cause, because they don't feel like there's justification to fire him with cause. So it'll be a very interesting thing to kind of unfold. But again, not a great headline in the world of college football, and definitely something that we'll speak on a little bit more as more facts come out. I just didn't want to speak on anything that I didn't know was absolutely fact as of right now. And then this next one is one that just made my heart drop. I'll be totally honest with you. Kyrie Jackson has died in a car accident. He died, I believe, 2 days ago with two other former college athletes, Anthony Linton Jr., a former Florida State player, and Isaiah Hazel, a former Charlotte player. So, first of all, thoughts go out to all of those families. I can't even imagine what they're going through right now. Just an absolute nightmare scenario for them. But Kyrie Jackson was a very good kid. He was a kid that was drafted number one, 108th overall to the Vikings in this year's draft, and was someone that battled. There's really no other way to put it. He was at junior college. He got into some trouble off the field and had some not so great moments that I'm sure he would love to have back, but he found his way through it, and he got to Bama, and he got to Oregon, and he played some really good football at both those places, and was in the process of living out his dream. And then obviously his life got cut just way too short. So this is one of those headlines you hope that never comes across your screen. One of those headlines that always just kills you every time that you see something like this. And Kyrie Jackson was someone that so many people, especially recently at Oregon and his early time at Vikings, just everyone had rave reviews. They all talked about how incredible this kid was on and off the field. They talked about how hard he works, and it's just it's one of those things that really puts a lot of things in perspective. I'll just put it that way. But that's him with J.J. McCarthy, obviously, another guy that spoke just incredibly highly of him throughout those rookie mini camps. And yeah, it's one of those moments that really makes you reflect and makes you wonder a lot about a lot of different things. But overall, just a terrible moment for all three of those families. Obviously, thoughts going out to all of them, and hope that they can find some type of peace in this terrible time for all of them. So obviously, this is a incredibly sad story. Hope that people can find some type of peace in this. That's always what you hope in these scenarios. But a really, really terrible thing, and hope that everything can kind of, I don't know. I don't really have too much else to say here, but obviously gone far too soon, and thoughts and prayers out to all of the families that were affected here. Kyrie Jackson, Anthony Linton, and Isaiah Hazel, three losses that way too soon. I can say that pretty confidently. And then finally, want to break down a little bit of a coaching change up a little bit. A Nebraska assistant, Evan Cooper, the defensive back coach, has resigned from his position due to personal reasons. They worked very quickly to find a replacement in the Bills defensive back coach, John Butler, a very talented guy that obviously has a ton of experience at both levels of football. So no problem there in terms of who you're getting back, but the details of Evan Cooper leaving the job are unknown as of right now. Hope everything is okay with his family and everything is more than fine there, but this is the type of thing that usually doesn't happen, which, obviously adds to this a little bit and definitely is a huge thing because Evan Cooper is a very important person around those hallways. He does a ton on that defensive side of the ball that makes them the team that they are, and it's a huge loss. He was someone that was with Matt Rule for quite some time and definitely was a very highly respected person. So this definitely throws a little bit of the wrench into the works for Nebraska, and we won't really know how impactful it is until the season starts, obviously, and we see how everything's kind of coming together. But this is obviously a very interesting mix-up to the season that Nebraska fans did not expect to happen by any means. But overall, hope everything is okay with Evan Cooper and his family, and they can kind of smoothly move forward with this transition. But this will be hugely impactful for the season, and it'll be really interesting to watch. But overall, not this week that we wanted in this sport. I can tell you that. This was a very, very frustrating week. A lot of headlines that came across your screen that you just hated to see for a number of different reasons. But this is something that I just didn't want to gloss over any of these stories. I didn't want to miss out on any of these stories because so many things are happening around the sport, and yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I covered all of these because they deserve to be covered. And it definitely will be something that we'll likely do kind of infrequently. We'll figure out, whenever I need to do a little bit of a catch up with some of the big headlines, we'll do this type of segment and make sure that you guys know everything that you need to know. A couple of those we'll likely unpack in one form or another throughout the upcoming towards the season, whether it's Ollie Gordon and the implications of what happened to him. Blake Anderson obviously is going to be a huge one to talk about. Nebraska and how this affects them. And then just remembering Kyrie Jackson and who he was is obviously something that I will try to do as much as I can. But overall, not the week of headlines that we wanted around college football, but definitely ones that I think everyone should know about. But obviously, we'll do that whenever we really see fit over the next little bit. But that'll do it for this edition of the GSMC College Football Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show, leave a positive review. It does make a huge difference. Also, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, all of the social pages for all of the content and updates you could possibly need. We just have incredible people doing really, really good work across every single sport you could want. So definitely come on over to GSMC and we totally have you covered in the world of sports. But thank you once again for listening, and I will see you guys tomorrow.